So welcome to today's Facebook Live, where we're going to talk about finding out. There's an old Cat Stevens song. I don't know if you know Cat Stevens, kind of one of these like hip, whatever you want to call them, singers from the 70s who wrote a song called On the Road to Find Out, right? So everyone's on a road, everyone's on a path, you're doing your thing. You know things about your path, you don't know other things about your path. You like to ignore things about your path. You like to be on a different path. The path is all in your head and it's not where your feet are. And this is the conundrum of life, right? I just feel like so many people were taught to sort of like analyze, dissect, figure things out, and that there's almost like comfort and answers that are all going to be up here. And I don't think that that's necessarily the balance, at least for myself, that I'm looking for or that I'd like to teach. But what's the opposite, or what's the alternative? And the alternative is to actually be. And being, what does that mean? Oh, what do I do? I gotta sit in Zen, or I gotta like meditate? No. But what it is it's an awareness that most things are not always so concrete. Like you can't fit everything into the a squared plus b squared equals c squared is type Pythagorean theorem. It's not like that. Science makes sense. It's very literal and it's very deliberate and it's very finite, but it's not all there is. And so if you're somebody who likes to spend a lot of time up here because you're really smart, that makes you probably very successful. And it also can damage your relationships. It could damage your connection to your partner, your children. It could actually, and probably more than anything, damage your connection to yourself. Because if your head isn't healthy, or if your head is filled with nonsense, or if your head is not like comforted, nurtured, steepened, grounded, or directed, your head can cause you a lot of trouble. And your head tries to figure out a lot of things that are just not figure outable. I mean, you can't know what you don't know. And you don't know what's coming down the pike. I don't care how smart you are. You cannot figure out the future, you know? And so the process to being and really being with yourself, being comfortable in your body and in your skin and in your life as it is about finding out. It's about knowing that, for example, you're going to make decisions, and at the time they seem like really necessary decisions, really appropriate decisions, and then you may start thinking and rethinking them afterwards, and that can make you really miserable because you don't understand that the process to everything you want is in finding out more about that decision that you just made. I think people want to be like, I'm going to examine this whole thing, package it up, figure out the formula, make the decision, and then it's done. But once you make that decision, then there are things that follow. There are things that come after that decision. And those are just as important as everything that led up to making the decision, because those things are what are going to enable you to find out what that decision you made was all about. What was it about your wants, your needs, your desires that provoked you to make that decision? And I've made some really bad decisions that caused me and other people pain. And I'm here to tell you that a lot of those decisions were really valuable because I could only know what I knew in that moment. I could only know or take into account whatever wisdom, knowledge, or experience I had. But the beauty of it is that making perhaps that, jump off of the path or divergence onto something else that ended up leaving me with negative experiences, that was all ultimately to my good. There was just so much to be gained from what I learned about myself. And so this thing about finding versus figuring out, if you're in the F word of like fucking figuring it out, maybe it's time to like pull back and trust your decision-making process a little bit more. But maybe you can't do that because maybe you just make bad decisions and you're used to that and everyone around you is used to that. You're impulsive. You don't think things through, or you think things through too much and you never make decisions and you never act, Again, it's about balance, There's a time for the pause. There's a time for analyzation. There's a time for reasoning. There's a time for emotion, and all of it has its place on this path to finding out what you want, finding out what makes you happy, finding out who you are, and finding out, not figuring out, because you cannot, what is the next greatest step towards who you really are and greater desire and more happiness in your life, right? So if you're looking to take a step, if you're looking to do something differently, if you're not just sitting in analyzation and figuring things out, and you want to find out and start on a path and act towards who you want to be, or being more happy, or having more of your desires fulfilled, get in touch. Send me a direct message, or you can email me at nicole@nicoledevlin.com. Thanks for spending time with me. And of course, as always, find out that you're going to have a good day.